Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, good friends. Very kind of you. It's the second time you stood up when they called my name. The first time you shouldn't have, because when y'all stand up, no one can see where I am. I got a 3-foot advantage up here right now, so it's fine. It's a very special night. We love having the kids from FFA in town, 55,000 of them. They don't spend a lot of money in the bars like most conventions do, but a very wholesome group. Other than that, the only thing I regret about it is that there aren't more of us, because this is the biggest room left, and you have filled it, and you are a beautiful sight. And we cannot thank you enough for the generosity and the citizenship that is reflected in your being here this evening. This is just a great, great way for me to finish the day. It's not exactly the way I started the day. I started the day in the Horton household down in Huntingburg, 112th, if our count is correct, victims of Mitch the overnight mooch. Young Elijah, age 8, gave up his room for me, moved in with young Xavier, age 6. And so I've got some new buddies. But I look forward to the day that they can afford a ticket to an event like this. It's really so much of what we're about. I feel back at home now, you are a little different than some of the crowds I've been visiting with lately. There's this book thing. So that's all, that chore is done, but there for a couple weeks I was visiting with, it was interesting, but more of a literary crowd. I got done with my remarks, one of these sessions, and this sort of matronly, lovely older lady came rushing up. She's obviously very excited. She just was bubbling over, and she said, "Oh, Mr. Daniels, Governor Daniels," I just said, "Can't tell you how much I enjoyed that. That was just superfluous." I said, "Well, glad you liked it." She said, "Liked it?" She said, "Will your remarks be published?" I said, "Oh, probably not, ma'am. If so, it'd probably be posthumously." She said, "I do hope that'll be soon." So I was glad to get back, to Indiana and on the road, doing what we do. It was a pretty typical trip. There was actually a little errand I did over in Illinois as part of it. And over there I was able to answer a lot of questions about, yes, it is possible to discipline state finances, even in the toughest of times. It is possible to stay in the black. It is possible to have a AAA credit rating. It is possible to have the fewest state employees per capita in the country, and the fewest since 1975. I had a great hour plus with students at Vincennes University, where I was able to share with them the very positive news that now in the last year or two, for the first time in I don't know how long, more college graduates are moving into Indiana than moving out of Indiana. Somebody must be doing something right. On down to Oakland City for a little town hall where I was able to share with them my newest little piece of data. Just emerged about 2 weeks ago. A national survey was taken in which mainly about problems of state pensions and things like this, but it began with a very interesting question. They asked people across the country to rate the effectiveness, the efficiency of their state government. In Indiana, 77%. By 77 to 16, people said state government was efficient. I was astonished at that news. National average was about 50-50. Just to bracket it for you, Illinois was 23 to whatever's left. This is a very important matter, though. We've talked about this before. When we talk about ourselves as the party of purpose, we've said again and again, we believe in limited government. Oh, yes, we do. But inside those limits, we also believe it's an equally solemn responsibility to perform those necessary government services with excellence. And there are people in this room who have made that possible for Indiana. That 77% figure was the highest in America, and it is your achievement. I got to give yourselves a round of applause. And the reason we've always thought that was so important, just beyond duty, was that just as Mayor Ballard, Mayor McShirley, Mayor Siebold, Mayor Hosier, those who are with us tonight, have proven in their communities, effective service, delivery for the public on important progress is an essential prerequisite to building confidence for the next change and the next change and the next change. We call ourselves the party of purpose because we are the change in this state. We've said it all consistently for 7 years. We will always be thinking about what comes next, the next step we can take to make Indiana a better place, a place of more prosperity, more opportunity for people young and old. And the effectiveness with which so many public servants in this room and those who you've supported who are not with us tonight have delivered has, I believe, led a huge majority of our fellow citizens to say, you know, these folks, these Republicans, they care about me. They are there to make government work for me and my children, my family. And so when they come with the next new idea, I'm going to listen. I'm going to find that credible. We can never let up. As the coaches say, we're only as good as your next game. We're only as good as the next General Assembly and the next year. But if you will keep the pressure on and you will keep the support level up, there's no reason that our party of purpose cannot continue to deliver for Hoosiers for a very long time. Now, let me administer a little civics test. Name the last 3 chairmen of the House Budget Committee. Don't worry about it. I can't do it either. But you can name the current chairman of the House Budget Committee. And so can tens of millions of Americans, probably for the first time ever. Why is that? It's because he is a very unique figure. It is because he speaks with honesty and boldness. He speaks out of a trust in the American people that they can handle the facts and handle the truth. They can handle sometimes complicated issues, and that they are still the kind of citizens that liberty requires. They have the stuff of freedom in them. They are prepared, not everyone, but in a majority. They are prepared to put their children's interest ahead of their own, the future ahead of the present, to value liberty above the false security of government paternalism. That's why he's caught people's attention. That's why people know his name. Now, he's sometimes spoken with too much honesty for some people, certainly for all the members of the other party. In truth, sometimes he speaks a little too forthrightly for some of our fellow Republicans elsewhere. Not in this room, Paul. You are among people who value that, who have practiced that ever since we were entrusted 7 years ago with leadership in this state. All those office holders who have been honored here have each practiced the kind of honest and candid and courageous public service that you have come to personify for so many of us. We have learned in this state that big change can come, even in a place that hasn't been historically known for it. Big change comes only when leadership, elected and party, are prepared to trust their fellow citizens, to speak to their highest aspirations, not to their most base instincts, to propose new ideas with the courage to defend them and advocate them, and always to speak the language of unity. When I was a kid, my family, my mom and dad were from the North, lived in the South. And the first years I remember, we're in a tiny bandbox house about the size of this stage in Bristol, Tennessee. And to their dying day, my folks loved the 6 or 7 years we spent there and the people that they met there. And I was thinking the other day about the two things that they always talked about when they talked about Bristol. One was that nobody locked their doors. And the other was that nice people just came around without being invited and showed up. Well, political parties are a little like that, I think. If you don't lock the door, nice people show up. We have gathered a lot of them together. That's how we've won record majorities in this state. It's the only reason we have brought big change to this state. That must happen in our country, too. It will only happen because of people like the speaker you're about to hear from. He's the best embodiment of that sort of purpose and that sort of candid, forthright, specific leadership that we have tried to practice at our level here and which must soon be practiced nationally. You're in for a real treat, one you're going to remember a long time. You know, there are people who run around saying, I saw Jordan play when he was just a freshman. There are people running around saying, I heard, Stevie Ray Vaughan play when he was just a club guitarist. One day you'll be able to say, I heard Paul Ryan when he was just a congressman. Ladies and gentlemen, my friend Paul Ryan.